Today we are going to be talking about how to find the area of L shapes. These are complex shapes made up of only rectangles. So what we need to do today is use what we know about finding area to be able to separate this shape into two or more other shapes that we know how to find the area of. There is not a formula for this on your reference sheet, so you need to be able to split this up into something that makes sense. When I look at this shape, I see two rectangles. Some people will choose to split these two rectangles vertically, like this. Okay? In doing so, they create a long, skinny rectangle right here and another rectangle right here. When I do this, when I look at this shape, I see a lot of information right here, so I'm going to choose to split it like this. Now, just to think about this, it doesn't actually matter how you split it up, as long as you can determine the information you need for each part of the shape, or shapes, since there are two here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to label these shapes shape 1 and shape 2. So when I look at this shape and I have to find the area, I really have to find the area of two shapes. So I'm going to split my work into two parts here. So shape 1 and shape 2. So shape 1, well, when I look at shape 1, I see it's a rectangle. So I'm going to write down the formula that I know for a rectangle, which is length times width. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask myself, well, do I actually have the measurements for that rectangle? So for a rectangle, I need a length and a width. Well, I see a 30 and a 20 and a 7. That 30 goes the entire length of this shape. That's not what I need. So I don't actually need the 30. I need the 20 as my length and the 7 as my width. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute that in there. The 20 is coming from right there. The 7 is coming from right there. So I've got 20 times 7. I know when I multiply something by something with a 0, I can get rid of the 0 and take 2 times 7 and get 14 and add the 0 back on. This is 140 centimeters squared, just for this part of the shape. Okay? So I found that part of the area. This part is done. But now I need to find this part of the shape up top. So to do that, I need to ask myself, do I have the information that I need for this shape up top? Well, it's a rectangle again, so I'm going to write the formula, area equals length times width. And if I think about what I know, I have the length right here, or the width. Remember, length or width doesn't matter. So I know one of my sides is 25, but I don't right now know this distance. So I need to go back to what I know about finding the missing side. When I find the missing side, what this means I'm doing here is I'm comparing this side, x, to its other parallel sides. So I'm going to do a little bit of erasing here. So if I think about what else I know about x, this side right here is parallel to this side and to this side. So the numbers that I'm going to be using are 20 and 30 and this value x. When I look at this side compared to the other two, I know that it's shorter. So since it is a shorter side, I'm going to take 30 minus 20 to give me this value, because if I bring this x over here, this part up top is x. Sorry, let me change colors. This part right here is x. This part down here is 20. 20 plus something has to be 30. I'm going to guess a lot of you right now already know that this value right here is going to be 10, because 30 minus 20 is 10. Now, all that I've done right now is figure out this length or this width. I haven't actually used it in my area formula yet. So let's go back there for a minute. What I have to think about now is I need to be able to find the area of this shape using the length, which was 25, and now the width that I just figured out, which was 10. 25 times 10 is 250 centimeters squared. Now, right now I've done some pretty good math. I've got two rectangle areas correctly calculated, but to find the total area, and write TA for total area, I'm basically going to take shape 1 and add it to shape 2. So I take my area from shape 1, that was 140. I'm going to add it to my area from shape 2, which was 250. 140 plus 250 is 390 centimeters squared. All of this comes from looking at an initial shape and breaking it down into at least two other shapes, shape 1 and shape 2. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, can I split it the other way? Yes, you can, and we'll show an example later on where we do it both ways. Let's try this one. This one looks a little bit different. Think to yourself, how are you going to split this shape up into two other shapes? When I look at this shape, I see a big rectangle up here. So I'm going to go ahead and split my shape like this. Shape 1 and shape 2. And I usually put shape 1 around the shape that has the most information. So I see a bunch of numbers near shape 1, that's why I'm putting that there. So if I'm going to find the area of 1 and 2, I know shape 1 is a rectangle, and I know one of the sides of shape 1 is 55. So I can go ahead and label that my length. I know I've got 55. Now, when I go to find the width, this dimension right here, I need to be really careful because that 55 looks really tempting to use right there. But I know that 55 goes the entire way down the shape. I need to find just this piece. So if I bring that piece over, I'm just looking for this part, this distance, which will be my width. So thinking back to what we do when we have missing sides, we need to find the sides that are parallel to it. So if I'm looking for this side right here, the sides that are parallel to it are 22, and 55. If I have 22 and 55, and I know this is the length that I'm looking for, this W piece over here, okay, it's the same as it would be if I moved it over here, I know this piece is shorter than this piece. So what math does that mean I have to do? If it's shorter, it means I have to subtract. So I'm going to take 55 minus 22 and get 33 as my width. Now I can use that in my multiplication here. So I can take 55 times 33, 55 times 33 on my calculator gives me 1,815 yards square. So at this point, I've determined the area of shape 1. Now I need to determine the area of shape 2. First things first, think about what kind of shape it is. Oh, yep, it's a rectangle again. Length times width, that's the formula. I'm going to make sure I write down my formula every time I do a shape problem. When I look at that shape, I know that one of the sides is 22. That one's really clear this time. So I'll go ahead and label that there. But again, I'm missing another side right here. So I need to think what matches that side. What's parallel to that side? Well, the 35 is, and the 55 is. So if I match up my colors here, this side and this side and this side, if I'm looking for this piece right here, this piece is shorter than this piece. So the math I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to subtract. So I need to make sure that I'm subtracting 55 again, but I'm going to subtract 35 this time because I'm finding my missing side. 0, 2, this measurement here is 20. So what I need to do right now then is use that 20 and the length that I already have of 22. 22 times 20 is going to be 440 yards square. Now, you've worked really hard to get this answer at this point. Okay, I've worked really hard. I want to make sure that I don't forget the last step. I know sometimes when I'm working on a problem, I get going really fast and I forget to finish it. Right now, I need to make sure that I find the total area, which is like taking shape 1 and adding it to shape 2. So I need to take my area from the first shape, 1,815, and add it to my 440. When I do that, I'm going to end up with 2,255 yards square. Okay? So, this isn't easy because there's a lot of work. So one of the things you're going to have to do today is make sure you organize your work well to be able to keep track of what it is you're doing. I'd really recommend labeling their shapes, either shape 1 and shape 2, A and B, okay, and making sure you're noting what your missing measurements are. So this is the last question that we're going to work through together. Right now, what I'd like you to do, please, is to pause the video, and before you go forward, I want you to split up your shape. How are you going to split this shape? So please pause it. Okay. Now your shape should be split. You could have split it two ways, basically. You could split it right here, or you could split it right here. Both of these will give you the same answer. So let's be clear about that. Let's show how. So I'm going to use green for this shape over here. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and label this shape 1 and this shape 2. Okay? Shape 1 I know is a rectangle. So I've got area equals length times width. I know 50 is one of my sides, so I'm good there. That's my length. 50 times. Now I got a problem here because I don't actually know what this measurement is. So I'm going to look for my parallel sides. That's 60 and that's 80. So I know this side is shorter than that long side. It's not the longest side, it's a shorter side. So I'm going to take 80 minus 60 and I'm going to get 20. So that's the measurement I'm going to use for right here. So 50 times 20 is going to be 1,000 meters square. Now shape 2 down here, okay, or over here I guess, actually has all the information that I need. Shape 2 is the entire length, which is 80 when I read that. That 60 doesn't go all the way to the bottom, so I can't use that. And 15 across. So if I know it's a rectangle, length times width, I can go ahead and substitute my length and my width. 80 times 15. And when I multiply 80 times 15, I'm going to get 1,200 meters square. So for right now, we're going to stop with that. And we're going to move over here to this other shape. It's the same shape. And we're going to solve it again. And we're going to see if we get different values for our shapes, and then if we actually get a different answer in total. Let's see. So let's say we call this shape 1 again and shape 2. So if I'm finding the area of shape 1, when I look at this shape 1, I want this whole length and this length. And I don't actually see either. This is going to make things a little more complicated. I need to find this measurement right here. So I'm going to go through what I know how to do. I know this side is parallel to this side and to this side. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and think, okay, this x right here, is it the shortest or the longest? Well, this x actually is the longest between this and this side. So I know if that's the longest, it's going to be, the two sides added together. 50 plus 15, which is 65. So I know shape 1 is a rectangle. And one of the sides is going to be 65. But I still need to figure out what this distance would be then for that part of the rectangle. So I'm going to highlight what I know, what's parallel to it. That side is parallel to that, which is parallel to that. And thinking about what else I know that this measurement right here, let's call it y since we already used x, this measurement right here is shorter than this side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract this. I'm going to go 80 minus 60. Now, if you were looking at the other one, we already did this. This is 20, but if someone had only split it this way, they wouldn't know that. So this is a measurement of 20. So we've got 65 times 20 here. When we take 65 times 20, we're going to get 1,300. Now some of you might be looking over these are the two answers and saying, those don't match. You're right, but hang on, we're going to see how things are going to come together. So I need a little more space, so I'm going to erase some of this. So this was a measurement of 65 down here. So now what we're going to do is we need to find shape 2. Well, shape 2 is, I need a different color, just this piece right here. Now one of the nice things about this, shape 2 gives me all the information that I need. This distance right here is 60 from here to here. That's what we want. So I know shape 2 is a rectangle still. And we're going to go 60 times, I'm going to run out of space, times this measurement, which is 15. 60 times 15 is 900 meters square. So let's come down here and we're going to calculate our total areas for each. So total area over here, for the way we split it when we did it in green, was shape 1 plus shape 2, which was 1,000 plus 1,200. When we add those together, we're going to end up with 2,200 meters square. Now this one over here that kind of turned into a multicolored shape, we're going to take shape 1 plus shape 2. We're going to find our area here, which was 1,300 for shape 1. Oops. It's a comma. And 900 for shape 2. And when we add those together, we're also going to get 2,200 meters square. So it doesn't matter how you choose to split it. Sometimes you get in habits and you always split things up and down, or you always split things side to side. It really doesn't make a difference. You just have to be able to find the missing side. If that was what was hard for you in this lesson, please go back and rewatch the previous video about how to find the missing side. Good luck, work slowly and work carefully on the rest of the questions on the worksheet. Please make sure to go back and rewatch this if you have any questions. Good luck.